All right, listeners, ready to dive deep into some Star Wars today? We're going to tackle a debate that seems to come up all the time. What was the Jedi plan at the Battle of Geonosis?
Oh yeah, from Attack of the Clones, right?
Exactly, that's the one. And luckily for us, there's this awesome Reddit thread that just blew up. It's literally titled, "What was the Jedi plan at Geonosis?" So many opinions, so many theories. We've got a lot to unpack.
Sounds like a good time to me. I'm always up for dissecting some Star Wars strategy or, lack thereof.
Okay, so right off the bat, one commenter jumped in and said the Jedi just figured they'd roll up with like 200 Jedi, and the Separatists would just be like, oh shit, no, never mind.
Well, quit kind of underestimating the situation, are you?
Well, yeah, that's what I thought too. You can't just show up to a galactic showdown and expect everyone to back down just because you've got some lightsabers, right?
Right. It's important to remember that the Jedi at this point were mainly focused on peacekeeping, resolving things peacefully, using force as a last resort.
So they weren't exactly ready for an all-out war.
Pretty much. They likely underestimated the Separatists' military strength and thought their presence alone would be enough of a deterrent.
Ah, the classic Jedi overconfidence coming into play.
Maybe just a tad. But hey, at least Yoda had a plan, he said. Around the survivors, a perimeter create.
Oh yeah, that's super clear and specific plan.
You know, that line has become quite the meme.
And for good reason. It doesn't exactly scream brilliant military tactic, does it?
Not really. But it does kind of highlight how the Jedi weren't exactly prepared for a huge battle like Geonosis. They hadn't fought a war on that scale in a long time.
Yeah, you can't just rely on vibes and the Force when you're facing a droid army.
Especially when that droid army was literally designed to take on the Jedi.
Wait, really?
Yeah, someone in the thread pointed out that Dooku straight up tells the Separatist leaders that their droid army is built to overwhelm the Jedi.
So the Jedi just walked right into that.
Well, it seems that way at first. But hold on, there are some deleted scenes that suggest they were actually going for a two-pronged attack.
Oh, what was the...
From what we can gather, they were trying to rescue the prisoners and take out the droid control ship at the same time.
Like a repeat of the Phantom Menace? Just hit the control ship and boom, the droid shut down.
You'd think they would have learned their lesson from Naboo.
Oh, a lot of the comments brought up that the Separatists weren't dumb. They upgraded their tech after that whole fiasco.
Exactly. The droids in Attack of the Clones were designed to function independently, even without a central control system.
Ah, so taking out the control ship wouldn't have done jack shit.
Pretty much. The Jedi seem to be relying on outdated tactics they didn't adapt to the evolving tech.
Okay, so no clear plan, underestimating the enemy, relying on old tactics. What else could go wrong?
Well, one user in the thread made a hilarious comparison to Leroy Jenkins. You know, that classic internet meme?
Oh god, yeah, the guy who just charges in screaming, Leroy Jenkins.
Yep, that's the one. They said the Jedi basically pulled a Leroy Jenkins at Geonosis.
I mean, looking back at it, I can kind of see it.
It does make you wonder if they were maybe a little too overconfident, a little too reliant on instinct rather than, actual planning.
And speaking of overconfidence, someone brought up a really good point. Did the Jedi even need to be there in the first place?
Interesting thought. Did they actually make the situation worse?
Yeah, like maybe things could have gone differently if they hadn't just barged in with their 200 Jedi posse.
It's worth considering. Maybe their whole show of force actually forced Dooku's hand and turned a potential negotiation into a full-blown battle.
Oh, damn. So are we saying that?
The Jedi basically walked right into Palpatine's trap. He needed a war to gain more power and turn the Republic into the Empire.
So the Jedi were like pawns in this whole Sith scheme.
Pretty much. It really shows you how cunning Palpatine was.
Yeah.
But it also brings up this question of what role the Jedi really played in the whole thing. Were they really fulfilling a prophecy, or were they tricked into playing a part that led to something way darker?
That's some deep stuff right there. Makes you think about Star Wars in a whole new light.
Right. It's not just about lightsabers and space battles. There's a lot of philosophy and political intrigue going on. But going back to the Battle of Geonosis for a sec, some folks in the thread mentioned that maybe the Jedi were going for a shock and awe tactic.
Oh, like show up with a massive force, freak everyone out, and hope the Separatists just give up.
Yeah, that's the basic idea. A rapid and overwhelming show of force to basically break the enemy's will to fight. But the Separatists were ready for them. They knew the Jedi were coming.
And Dooku used to be a Jedi Master, right?
Exactly. He knew their tactics, their strengths and weaknesses. So the Jedi were playing right into his hands.
Like, hey, Dooku, remember that move you taught us? Yeah, we're going to use that against you now.
It's easy to judge in hindsight, but you got to remember the Jedi were known for their composure and serenity. They were used to facing enemies who were kind of intimidated by them.
Yeah, but facing a bunch of emotionless robots that just keep coming is a whole different game.
Absolutely. It was a total clash of styles.
Yeah.
The Jedi, with their focus on peace and diplomacy, were not prepared for a war against a machine.
So we've established that the Jedi's plan wasn't exactly a masterpiece. But did they actually accomplish anything at Geonosis? I mean, they took down a lot of droids before the clones arrived.
They definitely fought bravely, and they did rescue Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme, but a lot of Jedi died in that arena.
Yeah, a lot of comments mentioned that. And some people even argued that their sacrifice was pointless because it just led to the Clone Wars and the rise of the Empire.
It's a dark way to look at it, but there's some truth to it. Geonosis was a Republic victory, but it came at a huge cost. It was just the beginning of a war that would eventually destroy the Jedi Order.
This is getting heavy, but I guess that's what makes Star Wars so interesting. It makes you think about war morality and the choices we make.
And that brings us back to our original question. What was the Jedi plan at Geonosis? Maybe they didn't really have one? Not one that could account for all the manipulation and hidden agendas.
So they were basically set up to fail.
You could say that their fate was sealed the moment they stepped into that Geonosian arena.
Okay, maybe doomed is a bit strong. But it definitely feels like things went downhill for the Jedi after Geonosis. Like they walked in thinking they were the heroes, but they got played and ended up in a war that destroyed them.
It's a classic tragedy, you know? The Jedi, with their good intentions and their faith in the Force, they just didn't see what Palpatine was really doing.
So what does this all mean for us today? Why should we care about some strategic blunder on a planet far, far away?
It's a cautionary tale. It reminds us that even when you're trying to do good, things can go wrong. The Jedi's failure at Geonosis shows us how important it is to think critically, to question what you believe, and to always be aware of manipulation.
So even if someone seems like they're on the right side, you know, with the glowing sword and all that, it's smart to step back and think, hold on, is there something else going on here?
Exactly. The Jedi were stuck in their old ways, they didn't adapt to the changing galaxy, and they didn't see the darkness that was using their own strength against them.
They were so focused on being the good guys,
Yeah.
they missed the bigger picture.
And that brings us to one final question for our listeners. Was the Jedi intervention at Geonosis really a victory, or was it the first step towards their downfall?
That's a great question to think about. And a huge thank you to everyone for joining us on this deep dive into the Clone Wars. We hope you learned something new about this important moment in Star Wars, and maybe even a bit about critical thinking and challenging what you believe.
And remember, the next time you watch Attack of the Clones, pay attention to the Battle of Geonosis. It's more than just cool action sequences. It's a turning point for the galaxy, a clash of ideas that had consequences for generations to come. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more epic content.
Yeah, we've got tons of awesome stuff coming your way, so stay tuned. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.